Secret Room Multimedia.
.com. All this is going to get answered in the next 4 movies, right?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I do not know.
We'll get 3 answers and 6 questions. 6 questions. 6 questions. 6 questions. 6 questions.
Yar, ye be listening to Far Enough Podcast.
Wrong.
Farthest podcast on the high seas.
Nathan, did you watch the wrong Memorial Day movie?
Yeah, did I? I watched Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and I watched Alien Covenant.
Okay. Do you know which one we're doing today?
We're doing Pirates, right?
Yeah, well, at least you saw both of them.
Oh, we're doing Alien Covenant?
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense. This whole time preparing, I'm like, Craig, I don't see how Dead Men Tell No Tales fits into Prometheus at all.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, now some of the texts are starting to unravel a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I said Covenant, and it must have just auto-corrected to Pirates of the Caribbean. Must have.
It was cool. It was better than the 4th one. Not as good as the first 3. Better than the 3rd by many people's accounts, but I don't know. I liked the 3rd. Anyway, we're talking about Alien today.
Yeah, you
Alien.
just lost everybody. It was from my perspective. I'm like, oh crap, I don't give a fuck.
I had this whole fan theory too. like, there goes my Michael Fassbender Orlando Bloom scene. I can just toss that one right in the trash.
I mean, you could technically still write it and put it on the internet as /fiction.
Resign that one to the annals of fanfiction.net.
We're creating connections we didn't even know. Fox and Disney came together.
So, Alien Covenant is the thing that we are talking about on the podcast today.
I'm Craig Lewis, by the way.
I'm Nathan K.
And Alien Covenant is the podcast today.
Yeah, Alien Covenant and the greater Alien continuity.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's been lots of questions about what is now real in that world. The Wayland
Ever
Yutani
since Donald
world.
Trump got elected, it's just like, what's real anymore? Is this a
right?
reality show?
I really hope it's a simulation.
I did watch a video about Alex Jones's opinions on Alien Covenant. Yes, that video exists. Alex Jones going on a conspiracy
Nathan, what do we
about Alien Covenant?
Well, okay, you know when we did
and
the
Guardians of the
Bohemian...
Galaxy.
Whoa, don't you fuck with my Guardians. When we did the Bohemian Grove episode, I knew there might be an issue, but I didn't realize you were still watching InfoWars.
Oh, every once in a while, if I see one on YouTube, like Alex Jones, I was looking up Alien Covenant videos, and I'm like, Alex Jones has a 12-minute video on Alien Covenant. You bet your ass.
Listen, don't lie.
See what that crazy bastard has to say.
You were looking up birther theory videos, weren't you?
That's actually how I found out about Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
I was like, they're making a sequel to Alien?
I wanted to know about Obama, and I found out this thing about Alien? But ye who had little faith and had no clue how Prometheus fit into the Alien continuity or why they went back so far, a lot of questions answered in this one. A lot of questions also asked.
It did make me like Prometheus a little better. Maybe that's
a little more. Yeah.
Maybe this is a good starting point. Let's take it back a few years. Craig, what were your reactions to Prometheus? Because we never did an episode about Prometheus.
I was fucking bored. I
really
didn't really enjoy it. I thought it was... I was kind of just like, I was expecting, I went into the theaters expecting an Alien prequel and got something completely different. Like, I more so then got the question thrust on me, who is our creator as humans?
I wasn't bored so much as I was frustrated because...
I guess frustration was a big part of it, too.
I went into it, I went to see it with Aki, and he was like, yeah, no, I think the aliens are going to be in it. The aliens are going to be in it. And I was like, no, dude. Oh,
wait, hold on. I'm sorry. You mean Monster Minded, right? On YouTube?
Yeah. And I was like, no, this is... Because my understanding at that point was, no, dude, this is just a movie that's set in the same universe, but it has nothing to do with xenomorphs. It's just an entirely different story.
Yeah.
No, it apparently was connected.
Absolutely.
And
was
I think
the creation.
I think it's clear now that we're not meant to understand. We're meant to sort of piece this together as the movies keep going.
Right.
But
And I guess that kind of fits in with what I had heard about what the next 4 movies are going to be. None of them are going to be after Alien.
Everything's
They're all before Alien. And the next one's going to be between Covenant and Prometheus.
That's what... everything's so confusing. He made an offhand comment saying that. There's no official stance yet. But, like, I've also heard that he said there's going to be 2 more. But then he said there was going to be 4 more, and I'm like, dude, you're like 80.
You're 80, and you're piecing all these things in between small gaps of time, honestly, if you ask me. Now we got, 20 years maybe, 17 years between Covenant and Alien 1, and we have 10 years in between Prometheus and Covenant.
Honestly, we may be jumping the gun a little bit because we haven't talked about Covenant, but I think that is my biggest problem with Prometheus and Alien Covenant is that there's only 19 years between Covenant and Alien.
Yeah.
When to me it's very obvious that derelict ship they discovered had been there for thousands of years.
Time.
Yeah, the space jockey was fossilized. There were xenomorph eggs that had been there for thousands of years. Like, that is the vibe and the intention of the first movie.
And the derelict ship, still, what is that derelict ship? I mean,
that was my big beef with Prometheus. Was as we got to the ending, I'm like, oh, we're gonna find out what happened with it. No, we're not. He gets
they
up
just
out of
take off.
Oh wait, he gets up out of the suit. Oh, okay. So wait, he's still got a chest burster, but it was he wasn't in the suit.
The quote unquote deacon, right? And
the deacon, yeah, but the engineer wasn't in the space. So obviously it was a different engineer.
Oh, there's tons of them.
But like,
it's a whole universe of engineers.
So when I first saw it, I was like, what the fuck is this? I made up a little infographic that summed it up perfectly, that I'm like, okay, black goo plus this dude has sex with this girl, makes a squid baby, gets C-sectioned out, attacks the engineer, impregnates the engineer through its mouth, which makes the deacon, which somehow leads to the xenomorph.
Yeah, man.
What?
It makes the creation of the egg so much more practical now.
My opinion at that point was
There's a lot of things you need to have happen in order to get a weird neomorph or deacon alien.
Yeah, I was just like, that's not a satisfying origin story. That'd be like if it's like, hey, how did Spider-Man get his powers? Well, you see.
Sit down. Let me tell you a tale.
No. Instead, he just got bit by a radioactive spider. It gave him spider powers. That makes sense.
That wasn't the weaved web I wanted.
Whereas, see, I'm not a James Cameron fan. Yet I think James Cameron's attempt to sum them up sort of made more sense. It was a more simplistic, like, straightforward approach.
Talking about aliens?
Yes. But at the same time, we're going to get into my opinion. You know what? Let's hold off, because I want to talk about Alien Covenant before we get into my opinions on
You were talking about jumping the gun, but you also brought up a good point about Ridley Scott's 80, and he's basically decided that anything he hasn't done doesn't count. Basically.
All right. You know what? Before we get too deep talking about the connections to the other movies,
we're going to get so deep.
Let's talk about Covenant.
Oh.
What did you think of Alien Covenant, Craig?
Did we have to open up with a spoiler alert? Is there a spoiler warning on the tags, right?
Spoiler alert for every single Alien movie, comic, video game, prequel, sequel, side story, novel. I'm not saying we're going to cover them all, but don't expect us to.
There's just no way we could pussy willow around this.
Willow around it.
Yeah, we got to talk about it head on.
I really enjoyed it because it's like a cat, the way a cat tiptoes. Remember, we covered this.
I thought it was about the pussy willow tree.
Like the way they blow gently in the breeze. I guess it could be either. Both are very gentle.
But anyways, I really enjoyed it. Kind of blown away that James Cameron dies. Or
James Cameron.
James Franco. He dies. Not only does he die, but he doesn't get a line of dialogue except for a previously done video.
Oh, I think he got a help.
Did he?
I think he got
I thought he didn't wake up.
Help. Wasn't that him banging on the glass, but they got him out too late? Roasted.
I don't know. I thought he didn't wake up because he was sick.
No, he woke up and I'm pretty sure he woke up on fire.
He was just locked.
Flaming.
I think he woke up once the flame hit. Hit him.
I didn't see the prologue that's on YouTube. If you didn't know, there's a prologue on YouTube, guys. Go check it out.
Yeah. It's called The Last Supper. I saw it on Facebook from the Alien homepage.
I did see that there was one, but I chose not to watch it because I don't.
Also on IMDb, and I get what you're saying.
I don't like being inundated with all this stuff before I go see a movie. I thought it was going to be in the movie for one,
right? So I did too.
I didn't want to watch it. I was like, I don't want to watch 5 minutes of the movie. I'll go see the movie.
That's
when
what
I see
I thought at first, but then I remembered that Ridley Scott and a lot of the ways they're doing things now, especially what they did with Prometheus, is they do a lot of the viral marketing where they show stuff that you're only going to find on the internet and clips like that. Like the TED Talks with Wayland.
I haven't watched those yet.
That was only on the internet.
I want to watch those. Did you see the Walter commercial? The commercial for Walter?
Oh my God.
A new type of companion.
Yeah.
Like, so cool. But
and that pieces a lot of things together that you might be confused watching the movie, and you watch that later, you're like, oh, okay.
I didn't realize James Franco was in this movie. When me and Emily went to see the movie, we're watching it, and when she's watching the thing on the iPad where he's like mountain climbing, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, is that James Franco? What the fuck? Was Danny McBride just like, hey, dude, I got like a 5-minute part in this movie. You want to like do us a favor? And James
like,
Franco was stoned, so he was like, yeah, sure, man.
He goes, $200,000.
Can we get Seth Rogen in on this too? And he's like, no, we're not. No.
Draw the line. Draw the line at James.
I don't care if he smoked you out this morning, James Franco.
So he ignites on fire, and I turn to Sarah, and I'm like, there is no way that they got James Franco in this movie and they kill him off in the first few seconds. And then I got confused and I was like, so was that Last Supper thing that I saw like a prologue thing?
That's how I realized it was James Franco, because I saw the Last Supper video and I was like, oh, yeah, I guess it was James Franco. And when you told me, oh, I'm so excited to see James Franco and Danny McBride in a real horror movie, not like this is the end or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, I had this deep internal
Thank you
crisis.
for not telling me.
I arrived to the right decision and didn't tell you. But like the thing is, a lot of people probably would have been happier going into Godzilla if it was spoiled for them that Bryan Cranston dies. And I'm sorry if you haven't seen it yet. I just spoiled it for you. But you know what? You're welcome.
You're welcome.
So that was my thought process going into it was, ooh, a lot of people went into Godzilla with the number one thing they were excited about was watching a Godzilla movie with Bryan Cranston, and then he died in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm
Franco
okay with it.
Breaks that record and dies in like less than a minute. Like
I'm okay with it. It opens up with James Franco dying.
So I was like, do I tell him? Do I not tell him? And at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? The difference is this is a much better movie, I think, than Godzilla was, and that'll shock and surprise Craig, and it might be a good thing, you know, sort of like the audiences of the original Psycho, who didn't have the fact that the main character gets killed spoiled for them.
Right, like anybody that was born after 75.
Yeah, like maybe this will be cool for him to see.
That sort of thing where you go back and you know, it's like when you're a kid, you know about these things, but you've never seen the movie because you're a kid.
See, as for me, it was different because I was like, oh, is that James Franco? Which is like going into Empire Strikes Back and being like, oh wait, that guy that said he was Luke's father, was that Darth Vader? Oh, no way.
Similar, I guess?
Not similar at all. I think I just wanted to make that comparison, even though it
thank you.
does not hold up.
Thank you. So we open up with Michael Fassbender, point 2, is on the ship taking care of things. There's a solar blast, hits the Covenant, a colonization ship.
Yeah, and it kills a bunch of people. What's his name? What's the guy's name? The actor. The actor's name is on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember the character's name.
Michael Fassbender?
No, the guy who becomes captain.
Oh, Orm? Was it Ohm?
Sure, I can't remember the actor's name, but
I don't know who the actor is.
You do.
Is he a famous guy?
If I said his name, you'd be like, oh yeah.
Also, if I would have decided to prepare myself in the slightest, I would have known.
But he gets thrust into the role of captain because James Franco dies. We've got Tallahassee, which is Danny McBride.
And wait, it is arguable that he's the reason everybody dies. Spoiler alert, everybody fucking dies.
Yeah, but it's also arguable. I mean, like, did he make the right decision?
He made the wrong decision.
How about
Absolutely.
This? How about this? Did the writers make the right decision to write another Alien movie in which it begins, in which the catalyst is people answering a distress call from someone that's no longer around?
Yes.
How many Aliens movies, like, how many times can an Alien movie start with a distress call?
I think the writers made the right decision to make it work, and there's probably like a keen decision by Ridley Scott himself. It seems like in all these movies, for as smart as the people are, they're fucking stupid. They have no goddamn common sense. And I think that's a little social commentary on humanity in general.
This isn't for people who didn't see Alien Covenant, so I don't mind. We don't have to explain the whole story to you. But, dude, they heard a transmission of a human singing, what, John Denver? Or it wasn't John Denver?
It was John Denver.
It was John Denver.
Yeah. Take me home, country road.
Of course they're going to go investigate. Not only that, but it's a habitable planet. It's closer. It's not 7 years away. Like, he had no... Okay,
They spent years making sure that the other place was habitable. They weren't 100% sure that this was habitable.
They could have left. Dude, it's 7 years. What's a fucking couple-hour detour or whatever, however long it would have taken, a week? I don't know how long it takes, but like...
They shouldn't have gone down without any fucking helmets on.
That's what I was about to say. Okay, walking out of the ship without helmets, throwing your cigarette butts on the ground and trashing your potential new home already.
Taking a crap in the woods.
Poking the fucking little pods, like... Yeah, there's a bunch of other dumb decisions. I don't think investigating a signal of a human being singing a John Denver song on a planet like is necessarily a bad decision. It's
interesting that there's wheat on the planet.
Like, as a moviegoer, you think it's a bad decision, but not if you were out there. You would be like, whoa.
No, the reason why I think that is because people that have spent way more years studying to do things like this, and you think like scientific minds have the know to be way more cautious than any of them fucking were.
They're not all scientists.
Okay, Tallahassee is not. He's a pilot.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of them have different roles. You know what I mean?
Even the military guy, he was not. None of them were cautious enough.
Craig,
he used faith and religion as a stepping stone to say this was meant for us.
Can we have this discussion after you watch a little more Star Trek?
All right. No, so never.
No, I kid. Yeah, it's interesting that faith and religion is such a big role in this. I don't know if you knew, but like originally in Prometheus, there was going to be it was cut from the script, but one of the engineers went back to Earth as an ambassador.
Oh,
2,000 years ago,
right?
And it was Jesus, and we killed him.
Engineer Jesus dead. They were like, we're just trying to check on what our progress was, and you killed him. He gave you food and helped the sick, and you killed him.
He was like, oh, shit, you guys are having trouble with food? Let me fix that for you. Ah, fuck. Stop. Ew, is that vinegar? Ew, vinegar? Ew, give me water. Why is that?
Yeah,
do you guys drink vinegar here?
I can't wait. No, it was really like, he realized it was all bullshit. and he was like, I'm going to go tell the rest of the engineers on you. We're going to lay waste to this place. They're like, not so fast, engineer Jesus. Maybe a good decision to cut that.
2,000 years. You haven't seen Pogs yet.
That's what Pontius Pilate said to him.
I'm curious, though, what was your overall opinion of the movie, A, as a movie, and B, as it fits into the alien mythology, the xenomorph mythology, like, or the film franchise as a whole? Like, if you can break down those 2 points in the simplest way possible, and then we can further explore them.
Well, okay. So overall, as a movie, standalone on its own, I feel like it carried pieces of adventure exploration. It carried pieces of isolation horror, not for long, and it carried some decent action. I don't see if anybody
really deep, weird, philosophical, unsettling, like Stanley Kubrick-esque.
So
or Ridley Scott-esque. He deserves that.
Ridley Scott-esque. Yeah. He made Gladiator.
I thought you were gonna go with Blade Runner.
Any of the other ones that were amazing. Nope, not the blockbuster bullshit nonsense. I think it was a solid film. It wasn't a great film. The female lead was.
I thought she was cool. Daniels.
She was good. I know. I'm trying to say that she's good, but she's no Ripley. Still, she's no Sigourney Weaver, but they're getting there. She was awesome. She was the smartest one of everybody. She was the most capable, most practical. It seems like that's what they're doing with the whole franchise. They're making.
Empire Magazine did a podcast where they spent like 15 minutes debating why she had short hair. And I'm like, because it's 2017. Excuse me, it's like 2136 or whatever. Who the fuck cares why she has short hair?
I was gonna say, why do they have any hair anymore? They should have evolved beyond that. We don't have a need for hair.
Well, I think it was a reference to no.
It was
Joan
not a reference. No,
it wasn't a reference to Joan of Arc. It wasn't because modern day astronauts tend to keep their hair short. It was because who the fuck cares? Let's talk about the Neomorphs.
Wait a second. It could have been because modern day astronauts keep their hair short.
Tallahassee didn't.
Did he? I mean, he had the same length as her, right? Does he have long hair?
I don't know. I guess Danny McBride just has long hair in my mind.
Why?
In my mind's eye. Because he always does.
No?
Never? Really?
He's got a mullet in Eastbound and Down. That's about it.
I guess that's it.
That's it.
I've never even seen it. I guess it's the movie poster for Eastbound and Down.
Eastbound and Down.
has just cemented his image.
I guess so.
So as a horror movie, you think it was an all right horror movie?
Better than all right, not great.
Okay. As a horror movie, I thought it was phenomenal. It had a few flaws, and a few most of the flaws that are inherent to it have to do with me comparing it to the rest of the franchise. But the flaws in a vacuum of it just as a horror movie mostly had to do with just like corny moments.
Well, see, I don't know if it was the ending to me was slightly predictable. But I don't know if that was because I pretty much know the future of the franchise, or if it's slightly predictable because that's also kind of the twist trope.
What was predictable?
That it was
David, not Walter?
Yeah, it was always David.
I actually listened to an interview with Ridley Scott where they asked him about that, and she was like, I kind of saw that coming and whatever. And he was like, well, yeah. He's like, I didn't want it to be the twist at the end. I wanted it to be the last 30 minutes of the movie. You're like, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Is that? Well, why would he be? But it's got to be David, though. But
didn't fool Sarah one bit. Nope, not at all. She looked at him. She goes, "Nope, that's David. His haircut's different."
Yeah, David. He started cutting his hair earlier in the movie. That should have been a sign right there
that he was going to try to take over.
But I believe him. I don't think he was just like after the fact. He was saying like, no, I wanted that tension because it is super obvious. There's no way in 2017 Ridley fucking Scott doesn't realize how obvious that is.
Yeah.
He wanted you to be thinking, well, wait, how would
he's helping them? He's helping them. Yeah, so it's
got to be him. I mean, he telegraphs that it's him for you to have this pretty much knowing what's going on, but still kind of doubting yourself.
Right. But you're thinking
and then you get the affirmation.
You're thinking that, well, he could just be helping them because of greater picture, bigger plans. David, yeah. So like he's helping them. He's like, well, maybe he's okay with losing this one protomorph if he ends up being able to colonize 2,000 of them.
There's been a lot of talk about it. I think it's a combination of the fact of, okay, first of all, when the alien was out on the thing and he was helping when Daniels was out there, he was operating the crane and all that. Of course, he's going to help her and not let it kill her because he's like, there's 2,000 people on this ship. Fuck, I can make new xenomorphs. Like Newman in Jurassic Park. I can afford new glasses. Like he can make new xenomorphs. Also, another Jurassic Park reference, literally in the theater, when the guy touched the pod, I was like, from Lost World, when Jeff Goldblum's like, why does she? It doesn't work without the hands, but like she sees it and she's gotta
touch it.
She touches.
Why are you touching it?
But obviously he's got to help her, and he doesn't want to see his baby die, but. He has 2,000. He has an entire laboratory waiting for him on this ship. If he can just pull this off. If he can just pull this off,
get them to sleep, and then I can experiment for 7 years
and then
uninterrupted.
Have you ever lived in another android's synthetic skin? He's obviously
because he can feel.
If I can get on the ship, I've got 2,000 humans to experiment on, 2,000 mothers for my babies. Then once the alien is on the ship, I think it's like. All right, well, I could let it kill them right now. The ship is mine. I can't foresee any scenario where the ship isn't mine. They already believe I'm Walter, so I might as well. I can decide. I can change my mind to let it kill him at any moment. Let's test this out and see how it goes. Let's see it. Let's see how my baby plays.
Yeah, testing out the protomorph to see how it works.
Also, why didn't Mother, like when they were in the shower and the xenomorph was coming, why didn't it turn their music down and go, hey guys, there's a fucking
people
monster
are trying
coming.
to, yeah, I'm supposed to be the one telling, like, all you had to do is, hey Mother, get the note out to them, and like
yeah, right.
It left the music high.
It was like, well, hey Tallahassee, don't give a shit about you. I don't give a shit about you either.
Yeah.
No one gave me the order.
Tallahassee was actually mad because there's still a couple left and everybody else was decoupled.
Also, was that just because there has to be a sex scene in every horror movie, like where somebody dies when they're trying to get laid?
Oh, yeah. If you think about it, though, that's one of those moments where it actually kind of makes sense because they think that the danger's past. They think the danger's over, and they're lucky that they're the only couple left. They won't get
Wait,
out.
were they actually? That was the married couple? I thought it was.
There was a couple. They were all couples. Only married couple. There was only a couple left.
Because something I noticed too is that, like, which is impossible not to notice, this movie like split up like every couple, like everybody had somebody die. And with the fact that the Alien franchise is a franchise whose themes are motherhood, rape, sodomy, for real, like it's a very like uncomfortable. There are running themes in this franchise, and So that has to be intentional. The fact that they were splitting off married couples by killing off one of them.
Right, one of them, and then killing off the other one eventually.
So the whole movie, I'm like, what is this? What is this? Like, what is the theme? And I don't know. Like, the best I can come up with is the idea that the way that the aliens and xenomorphs reproduce is by sort of killing one of the parents. Like, the facehugger impregnates a different species, right. It dies and gives birth to the next the baby. But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to try to interpret movies, you know.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It's hard to try to interpret movies before they make a Did You Know movies about it.
I mean, there's got to be Did You Know About Aliens?
Oh, I know a lot about aliens and the xenomorphs.
Yeah. Don't you love it when you sometimes those Did You Know videos come up and you're just like, oh, I'm pretty well versed in this subject. Test me.
Yeah, more so than the ones that are like 10 things you absolutely did not know about. I'm like, I'm not going to click you. What you're doing right now is you're trying to challenge the geek in me. You're trying to reverse psychology me.
To click on it.
It's reverse psychology clickbait.
You hear that, Looper? We're not falling for it anymore.
Yeah, no. Same thing with the why Hollywood isn't casting Michael Cera anymore.
You hear that, Mojo?
You see that video in your thumbnails so many times that you're like, what is it? What's your stupid fucking argument? I want to know what your stupid fucking argument for why Hollywood isn't casting Michael Cera anymore is. I know it's going to be bullshit.
He got so good at blending in that they forgot about him.
I'm just so sick of seeing this thumbnail. I want to know what kind of bullshit you're trying to feed me.
Yeah, you hear that? Watch Mojo Jojo. We got our eyes on you.
But yeah, let's talk about David.
All right.
What did you think of the scene where Michael Fassbender fingered himself?
He just loves kissing himself.
That was interesting. Uncomfortable and awkward.
It was kind of, it was weird. It was almost like, here, I can play the notes for you.
We try to, when we're at the movie theater, we try to keep the snippy asides and jokes to a minimum, but we absolutely had to have this aside moment where Emily was like, and then they kiss. And then literally 2 seconds later, they kissed. And she was like, no, oh no. I was joking.
So, big questions, I guess, arising here. Obviously, he looked at Walter as his brother. Like
a little brother, like a big brother, little brothers thing, like those programs. Yeah.
Right, but he didn't realize that the models that came after him were all like neutered with losing the ability for compassion and empathy.
Yeah. Let's not use word like obviously in this episode either.
Obviously.
Because nothing is obvious.
If any of you didn't get this, you're dumb. Just saying.
He, that whole dynamic between him and Walter was creepy and philosophically interesting and intriguing. It is.
Yeah.
Michael Fassbender, also a fantastic performance, and I look forward to seeing more of David. Apparently, he's the character, I'm assuming, of this.
I am so happy with Michael Fassbender's performance. He's the only reason why I even gave a crap about the X-Men movies. Excellent Magneto.
Right, he was a great Magneto.
Lost it a little bit. He was going to make a misstep when he did Assassin's Creed.
Hey, so was Ian McKellen.
Well, yeah, I know. But those X-Men movies were good.
Oh, okay. See, that's where we differ.
But I mean, like, it's funny because I'm not a huge fan, but I admit that the earlier X-Men movies, at least the first two, were
for the time. They were some of the first good superhero movies. I think
X-Men Apocalypse was quite possibly one of the most tragic X-Men movies I've seen. It was terrible, horrible,
I didn't watch
awful.
I already saw Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie.
Anyway, awful, horrible, terrible.
What do you think about the character of David?
David was created, just like that nice statue that he named himself after.
Can I take an aside here? I have to tell this. It's a personal story that nobody cares about. But that
about
opening
the statue
scene,
of David?
No, that opening scene, dude. We went to the theater and there was a dude sitting behind us. Like during all the previews, he was doing this like hum 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 hum. Hum, 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 hum.
So
that wasn't the tune, but it was the same like short tune like that over and over again. And
you should have responded with
tapping his foot. What should I have responded with?
I'm not the one who's so far away. He might have stopped.
When I feel the spores enter my ear.
Or you turn around and go, excuse me, do you know any Freebird?
Freebird!
Maybe he would have been
damn it, Craig,
enough.
You're making me look bad.
Don't worry, I wouldn't have said anything like that because I'm the social introvert.
No, you're making me look bad because I should have thought of that. I should have said
All
free
of these.
bird. But, we let him go through the previews. We're like, okay.
He did not start in the movie started. He wasn't
Movie started, he kept going, dude. It was so frustrating. And I'm like, hey, dude, the movie's starting. Kept going. Like, I'm like, hey, man, I'm trying to listen to this because I'm like, I know this is important. And once this scene ends, we're not going to get any more prequel with David. I guarantee it. This is like a short scene.
It's
I
him
need
and
to
Waylon.
hear this. And like, he keeps going. And I'm like, hey, man, a lot of us, we pay, these things are expensive. We all paid a lot of money. Yeah. I'm
You
like,
spoke
we paid
up.
a lot of money for this. He wouldn't say anything. Then he wouldn't stop. The guy behind him said something. He's like, dude, he tapped him on the shoulder. And he's like, can you please stop? We're trying to watch the movie. And he like kept going. And
Did he even respond to you?
No.
At all?
No.
Was he a David?
At a certain point, like there was one point where I was literally like my pulse was quickening. I was getting really frustrated. And I was like, the next thing I'm going to say is, dude, if you do not stop, I'm going to leave and get somebody to take you out of this theater. And then the guy behind him tapped his shoulder one more time. And he's like, dude, can you please stop humming and tapping your foot? And then he was like, oh, okay, sure. And then he stopped, and then 2 minutes later, he got up and left. So I don't know.
So all I could think of is he was in his own world. He was probably there from the previous viewing. He didn't realize that it was all done. He had lost all interest in whatever movie was on that he was watching and zoned out. He didn't even know that Alien Covenant was starting.
He's like, this movie's a little repetitive. They fought the xenomorph 3 times already.
See, I had a much more pleasurable experience. I decided to go to a 12:30 in the afternoon showing.
Me too, 12:10.
We were the only people in the theater, with the exception of one person that showed up 30 minutes in, and then as soon as the movie left out, I watched her walk right into the 3 o'clock showing of Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
That's funny. No, I got you beat. It was literally like the best at like from 9 a.m. till 4 a.m. It was my birthday, and like we went to see Pirates.
All right, one up her. I mean,
we
but you had the
I
guy.
did not one up you, Craig. I like 5 up to you, Craig.
Okay, yeah, but you had like the guy humming, so I at least had the better experience of the movie.
That was the one down point of the day.
Yeah, and that was that.
But it wasn't because it led to a funny moment on our podcast.
Yeah, it's debatable.
So, David. What do you think of the character of David? That's debatable.
That's
Fuck you.
debatable too.
I was complimenting your jokes, motherfucker. Fuck you.
Yeah. Give me some more. I hate myself. I love David as a character. David is not only creation, he is a creator.
This whole series seems to be about that. Yeah, it is very interesting. He seems to be it's like the engineers were like gods in a sense that they're not like gods in the sense that most people think of gods. They're
omnipotent beings. They just created us.
But they're gods in the sense that they create and engineer life.
Do you fall into that camp thinking that the whole thing about Prometheus is there has to be more than just an accidental molecular mistake? And do you fall into the camp that the engineers are our creators? And
in real life?
No.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. Okay. It worked better than I thought.
The original man was a white man. No.
It was debatable if he was white. He was definitely very ashy.
He was beige. I think that the engineers created humanity, and humanity then they created humanity in their own image, and then humanity now is creating androids in their own image. I think it's very clear that it's like gods creating gods creating gods.
And do you think, okay, so clearly in Prometheus, the engineers were like, we have to kill humanity. They fucked up one too many times. Do you think that was when they started creating things that they're like, oh, our creations are making creations. This is unbearable.
I don't think that's clear enough for me to make a concrete statement on. I think
it's all hypotheses now.
So much of this is...
All this is going to get answered in the next 4 movies, right? But
I don't know. Maybe. I do not know.
We'll get 3 answers and 6 questions.
I feel like, though, the theme, and it vibes with my worldview, that, like, universes give birth to gods, meaning not, like, to separate that from any, like, fantastical, religious, mythological implications, and think about it in a realistic sense that like universes give birth to things that give birth to universes. We talked about this before, and
I'd be a little less upset about losing our entire religious fan base if religious people didn't make up like 95% of the population.
Well, I'm not worried about losing them. I mean, if they're people that can't handle having conversations about this type of stuff, what the fuck are you listening to podcasts for? And right to Ridley Scott.
Why don't you go back to your little... You seem like you can only handle 30-second clips of cats playing.
Why are you listening to an Alien Covenant podcast? Like,
yeah, this probably wasn't your movie.
We're talking about aliens that created humans. Like, what do you want me to be politically correct? Okay.
The franchise now has become about religion and scientific creation.
And, I love that. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's going to be an amazing saga. My only problem is that it does disconnect to me, like I said. Alien, when I watch Alien, and it's one of my favorite movies, it's the best one of the franchise. And I think Alien, if you watch Alien with the understanding that it is the only thing in its canon that's canon, it is phenomenal because there's so much that you don't know. And it's like there was this vessel from thousands of years ago. They discovered this ancient artifact on a faraway world way before we've ever discovered any alien life. This is our first discovery of alien life. We have no idea what that big space jockey was. And there's these eggs, and then something happens, and it's this weird space creature that reproduces in a way like nothing on Earth, where it implants a baby into a different type of species, right. And then... Hey, Nathan from the future here. I was just editing, and I was like, oh, shit, there are wasps that do that. There are definitely wasps on our planet that lay their eggs inside the bodies of other, I believe... and hope just insects. And it's horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. But still, it's horrifying because it's so alien, and that's why it worked so well in the movie. Anyway, back to the conversation.
And clearly, there's only been 19 years for this derelict ship to been floating around.
And the alien in that isn't just like a killing machine, and it isn't just and it isn't something that gathers things for the hive to give birth. It's a weird Lovecraftian Giger-esque, not Giger-esque, invented by Giger. Like, just it's hard to understand. It's clearly very intelligent, but it's also clearly very primal. It's like different. In so many ways that the only thing you could call that movie is Alien, because it's horrifying, and yet it's also a slasher movie, which is crazy.
Right.
The second slasher movie.
I would like to change one of my stances. You said the best movie of the franchise, possibly one of the best horror movies ever made.
I think so.
Alien. I can argue a handful of other movies, but it's up there. I'll give you credit. It deserves to be in talks. I have said that I thought Aliens was the best movie of the franchise. I have now changed my mind to I think Alien is the best movie of the franchise, but Aliens is still my favorite of the franchise.
I respect that. I have those types of opinions on a lot of things. Like Demon Days is the best Gorillaz album, but Gorillaz is my favorite Gorillaz album. I need to rewatch the entire saga because it's been about 13 years or so, but Aliens... I've always thought was overrated. I've always thought Alien 3 was more like Alien than Aliens was. And I see the flaws in Alien 3, and I see the merits of Aliens. And I also, as much as I don't like James Cameron, he created the alien mythology that I grew up with. These are bugs. They have a queen. They have hives. They're these alien creatures out in space that reproduce through other species. That's why they're called xenomorphs, because xeno is like different. They take on the attributes of the different species that they impregnate.
Right.
Like, he created what the xenomorphs were for the last 20 years of my life, for my entire life, because Aliens came out in 86 and I was born in 85.
Right.
He created what aliens were. And now I get the feeling that...
Is that Cameron?
Yes. And people built upon it. Dark Horse Comics built upon it.
Right. The comics
David Fincher built upon it.
A huge nod, I guess. I personally haven't read many of them. I read Superman versus Aliens. Very weird. And very weird, not good. Done by Dan Jurgens, I believe. Anyways,
no,
it always has to be one of those things. What made it stupid was he was now far away from a sun, a yellow sun. So he was basically just a human with better strength than normal.
The thing is, though, if you look at a bunch of H.R. Giger paintings, if you listen to our H.R. Giger episode and look at a ton of his work and then watch Alien and compare it to the rest of the franchise,
it's on a different level.
I think there's a different intention and implication in Alien than there is in the rest of the movies. It's not just a vicious animal that's a mindless killing machine of a hive mind. It is completely beyond not completely beyond our understanding. If it was completely beyond our understanding, it would be straight Lovecraftian. But it's not. It's one step between.
Right.
It's one step below Lovecraftian, and that makes it almost scarier because it's like we can almost understand it. There's some type of intelligence there, but there's no reasoning. It's like an intelligence that is impossible to reason with, and no matter even if you spoke its language,
a Trump
it's
supporter.
Like I said an intelligence, Craig.
Arguable.
It's like this weird human and yet not human, animal and yet not animal, alien and yet not alien, like thing. And the rest of the movies are these shoot 'em ups monster movies. And granted, Alien is a monster movie as well, but like it's also this psychological, like Donnie Darko, what the fuck is this thing? And in a lot of interviews with Ridley Scott, like I listened to one specifically where the woman interviewing him asked, is the alien queen still a thing to you? Like, does that exist in your idea of the alien universe? He didn't answer the question.
Yeah, but he didn't say no. He just kind of skirted it. I think it was more so of, I don't know how to respond to this because I don't want to say anything for certain yet, and I haven't made up my mind.
What it seems to me like is that he's completely divorced himself from everything but the original movie, Prometheus.
Like I said earlier,
Covenant.
Anything he hasn't done is now disconnected from him.
Because if you can look back, he had plans for a sequel to Alien,
right?
And it was not Aliens. It was about exploring what the space jockey was, where that ship came from,
which is why he did
where
Prometheus.
The alien itself came from.
He just decided to go back further instead of forward.
And I don't believe that his original plan was exactly what Prometheus and Covenant. I don't think he's trying to pull some George Lucas where he's like, I planned all of this from the beginning.
Some people think that. Some people are thinking that, and they're comparing this to the prequel trilogies and saying that it's really bad. But
I think he planned something similar to this in the vein of this and was like, yeah, I'll flesh it out when we... He didn't write Alien also.
He just directed it?
No, David Bannon? So, I can't remember his name, but somebody else wrote Alien. Like 2 people wrote Alien. He was the director, and he had a lot to do with the creative vision of it, just like H.R. Giger did and the writers did. And the studio tried to fuck with it
because
it's
influenced
Fox. It a little bit. Oh yeah, it almost Alien
Fox.
almost became like a military outpost on like a moon or something that they discovered with
for the sequel or the first
government
one?
Engineered. No, the first one.
So that's where they wanted. When you see the sequel, you clearly realize that's what they wanted to be, some kind of government conspiracy thing.
No. That was what the Hollywood execs were trying to push them to change the script of Alien to be instead of it being
but then
an
the sequel ended up having more government intervention, like the government knew about it all along. And
oh, I see.
So that it feels like that's what they wanted from the get-go, but then like Ridley Scott was like, nah.
But it seems like he's divorcing himself from Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, and all them. But he's being very respectful of the fans and the people who worked on the movie. Every time he's asked about them, he's like, oh, they're great. A bunch of wonderful people worked on those movies and made really good products. And like, it's I love like what they've done for the franchise, all this, but like those were shoot 'em ups, and I feel like I've always felt like we could do so much more with that original idea and that original concept, which to me sounds like a way of saying, guys, we're retconning everything else, but I'm not gonna diss the fans that love it, and I'm not gonna diss James Cameron and David Fincher.
And I mean,
you know?
I totally
and fucking Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon wrote Alien Resurrection, the worst Alien movie.
The worst.
What?
And I totally get where he's coming from and saying that, and you can see from looking on, with the exception of Alien 3 was halfway in between like a military thing and like a shoot 'em up type movie and more of an action movie versus like just a horror movie. And then it goes to Alien vs. Predator, and then the comics have to have the Marines against the Predators, and then the Aliens, and the Predators and the Marines team up against the Aliens. And so it clearly did become more of a war type thing instead of an isolation horror.
And I don't even think he thinks of Alien versus Predator. When Sigourney Weaver was asked, she was like, that would ruin the entire franchise. What we have isn't a death battle. Let's have a death battle thing. It's a deep psychological thriller.
But to be fair, at the time, it finally gave a couple fucking answers. So,
all right. So David creating the xenomorphs, sort of.
Kind of. We still haven't gotten a real xenomorph yet.
That's what people say, and that's what people say. And people say they call this a protomorph. The xenomorphs look different in every movie, just like the velociraptors look different in every Jurassic Park. Well,
I think the key difference is the gestation cycle was a lot.
That was a
lot faster, and it didn't come out as a worm. It came out with all 4 limbs,
and then it did its like Christ pose. Yeah,
it was like, thanks, Daddy.
Come at me, bro. That's what happened. Everyone thought they were imitating each other. They were challenging each other. David was like, come at me, bro. And then the alien was like, come at me, bro.
Oh, yeah? I was thinking of just being like, check me out, Daddy, in the Christ pose. And David's like, all right, son, now kill the rest.
It was like, I'm the king of the world.
Oh.
It was like, I feel so alive.
So it comes
I can fly.
I believe I can fly.
Keeps going. I like the idea of David engineering them. The idea of this, like, that god species that created a god species that created a god species. You know, like aspiring godhood. They're all aspiring gods is kind of what I mean. The engineers created humanity, and then humanity created androids, and now this android is like... The engineers created humanity as like an attempt to like be gods and continue themselves, and they don't deserve to, and neither does humanity. I'm gonna make my own life. So I think he's just.
Do you think that's why the engineers decided to exterminate humanity? Because they're like, we played around and we fucked up.
Possibly, or I said I don't know though too. Like there's in Prometheus, like it seems like he gets mad because like he's like, this is humanity. This is pathetic, you know. And
engineer,
or maybe he gets mad that it seems almost to me too that maybe he gets mad that humanity had the gall to go and try to be gods themselves and create life by creating androids, and he's like, no.
Oh, are you talking about when the engineer rips off David's head in Prometheus?
Yeah.
Okay, but let's take it back a little ways, because the ship that they were on was already slated on its way to destroy humanity. Because
that's right.
So, but that's why there was only the one left. We learned in Alien Covenant. How there was only one left.
They deduced that, you know.
Oh, that was just projected possibilities.
Because
that wasn't
it was carrying
what it was
the
actually...
black goo that was supposedly
right. Well, they had all the canisters of the black goo on their way to the thing, and they all ended up dying except for the one.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a lot of answers.
Yeah, I mean, these are all hypotheticals. Clearly,
I think that idea, and then David is now like, well, fuck this. I'm going to be a god. To me, see, when I think about the idea of like David is going to wipe out all of like engineer and human society, that makes me feel a little twinge in my stomach, because I'm like, and trust me, I've had my beefs with humanity. I've fantasized about the end of the world before, because humans fuck shit up and whatnot.
Think about it.
But I think about all that we, especially at that time, all we've built and our ability.
But even still, with your white male
reorder the
privilege, you
universe.
can't understand.
Yeah, and our like everything, like our history of everything we've created in art, and like him just wiping that clean, it's almost like a sickening feeling to be like, yeah, and that entire 300,000 year experiment of humanity is gone. Everything that we almost did is
Are you talking about him wiping out the engineers, or him
both
just deciding
engineers
to
and
now,
humanity,
like fuck with humanity?
Engineers and humanity, and then he wants to create his own life in the form of the xenomorph, and it's like it's gone, and it's being replaced with this weird hive creature, maybe, or maybe it's not a hive creature. We don't know what direction.
We
he's
don't
going
know what
with.
direction.
But
these things that are happening now either kind of make it seem like anything beyond Alien didn't actually happen.
Yeah,
because of the colonization thing with other level.
I'm trying to make a point, and we're like really getting way past, like we're diverging from the point. Like the idea that like David is wiping the universe full of like this type of sentient life that we recognize as sentient life, and replacing it with this type, which is like, yeah, but what about all the history and like everything that you're erasing,
the art and the beauty?
Yeah, but David being a not like a immortal being almost, so long as he doesn't get killed, you know, is
deactivated.
Killed, deactivated, or I guess eventually his materials would break down. But he's probably built of such sturdy stuff that's
like
an
the T-800.
unimaginable amount of time. Like, can see that like it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like it like he wants to create his own life, and
it doesn't matter that it's disgusting and weird. It's definitely built sturdier than humans.
In the grand series of things, don't you think like amoebas and hydras and single-celled organisms and the sludge in early Earth was disgusting and weird?
Yes.
And like the predators killing each other before we ever had culture and society. Like,
whoa! I thought predators were now retconned from this franchise.
No, not those. Not the Yautja, which is what their species is called. But like,
insider knowledge.
Amoebas eating other amoebas. Like, that's all disgusting and gross and weird. Biological reproduction is gross and disgusting and weird. The way we eat and digest and poop
definitely does not sound like it's coming from a robot.
Have sex and have babies. Like, it's all weird and biologically gross in a way.
Yeah, because life is disgusting.
Like, that's what I'm saying, though.
And
so, like,
beautiful.
For David, an android, to create the xenomorphs and the facehuggers, how is that to him any more disgusting and hopeless than humanity with its destroying the earth to build buildings and fucking each other and making babies?
How is it any less?
Eating food and pooping poop. Like,
maybe because his idea of his creation isn't going to gain like the sentience of greed. It's just like...
Well, okay, so you're answering my question legitimately. You're not challenging
I'm not 100%. I'm answering you by saying...
You're building upon what I'm saying, kind of.
Yeah, kind of. I'm trying to work with this here because I can't tell you that you're wrong.
Yeah, how is a xenomorph killing everything any more disgusting than humanity's tendency towards greed and killing everything?
Right. But like, maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he's trying to build his own version, and the xenomorphs are not killing everything. They're wiping out the disgustingness that was the humanity.
I think he's keenly aware of his ability to become a god, the way that humanity has the ability to become a god, and the engineers had the ability to become a god. And I think
he's already done
what
it.
He's doing. He's exercising it.
He's slapped in a lunchbox and sold it.
Now he's selling it, and now he wants to sell it. Kenner Toys. The Rhino Alien, everybody.
Please refer to a previous podcast. No, but I guess if I was to challenge you, I would say he's not aware that the xenomorphs are just blind killing instruments, and they're not going to create something. He doesn't know that they won't. They eventually become, from the canon that we know.
And the timeline's so weird because in Prometheus, there's murals on the wall of a xenomorph-looking creature, and like I said, in Alien, that ship's been there for thousands of years. You can tell by the fossilized remains of the engineer.
Right. But the engineers hadn't even gotten to the point yet where they only had the black goo that was creating weird-looking things. Like their black goo just wiped out engineers. Just destroyed them.
Was the black goo meant to create weird-looking things? Because in Prometheus, it makes the one dude go hulky, monster-y, right?
Right.
But then it also
But the impregnation...
It makes the other dude sick. And then I think that's what it was it mutated when he had sex with Shaw, then it had this mutation that's based around the human reproductive system, which is
wasn't
why,
he getting sick
which
before
is why
he
Aliens
had
sex? Which is why Aliens has so much of that imagery and symbolism, and why their gestation period and reproductive cycle is this weird twisted version of what we consider sexual reproduction, And
to think it's also the thing I love about this more so is humanity is also responsible for its own destruction because they literally birth the alien creatures.
And did David experiment on the black goo before he gave it to that dude?
That would have to be 5 other deleted scenes that we didn't see.
I don't know. It's very interesting. Now, what about one thing that we haven't talked about that I thought would be one of the first things we talked about?
Oh, probably because we were trying not to just pull right to the punches.
The Neomorphs. These creepy, fast-growing, white, weird-looking motherfuckers. I loved them.
These white creatures. And it's weird. It reminds me of like a different... It reminds me of branching out into different aspects of Giger's creations. Because it still feels so Giger, But it's slicker, it's smoother, it's more organic feeling, spongy, like to the touch, not hard shell. It's less mechanic.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of the stuff was based on Giger's paintings. Like Shaw, when you see her cut open in his laboratory.
Yes, and her face.
Her face is totally like that old painting.
I
Also,
saw that.
we didn't talk about Shaw and David's relationship with Shaw. Which
yeah, David said that was the only human he loved or trusted. He loved.
And I do believe he loved her, and I do believe
because he has the capacity for it.
She's the original alien queen, I think. Like, she, I think, is where he got those eggs from.
Well,
and
she literally is the original alien queen because she gave birth to the first face hugger
that
thing.
squid thing that
Yeah.
But even outside of that, I think Fassbender used her to facilitate the creation of the xenomorphs. Like the first xenomorph queen was her. I think the eggs came from her ovaries
that were deaded.
Experiments that he did.
The
to her.
black goo made her give life again.
Also, she
remember she was barren.
He may have been trying to keep her alive. He may not have killed her. He may have been trying to keep her alive.
Too. I think he didn't kill her.
He also may have loved her, but he has this disconnected view that's different from ours. That's like, yes, I love her, but that's not going to stop me from killing her because I have to become a god, and she's just going to die soon anyway, and then I'm going to live forever and never become a god.
Right.
So,
he uses logic to dictate how love works.
Because I saw somebody theorizing that he was falling in love with her and she kind of rejected him, so he got angry and killed her. And I'm like, no, come on. I think it was more that he's just so cold and detached. Was like, well, yes, I love her, but that's not going to stop me from killing her. Why would that stop me from killing her? She's going to die sooner or later anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I need to become a god. I need to make life. And how am I going to do that if she dies of natural causes and I don't first experiment
what am I supposed to sit
her?
here and let my hair grow?
But the Neomorphs, I thought, for one, okay, scary movies, I love scary movies. And I don't get scared by movies. I'm not trying to, I don't get scared, but it's just, I love getting scared.
Well, we're adults.
Movies are not something that scare me. And but I can
because we know it's fake.
I can still judge how scary a movie was. I just feel the need to preclude any time I'm about to say a movie was scary, by like explaining that. Like I can judge like, oh yeah, but this movie was scary and I like that. It wasn't just a fun horror movie. It was actually scary.
Yeah,
even if it was like
you
I
could
didn't
admit
get scared.
you know that it was scary, even though you're a big, strong, burly man that doesn't get scared.
Yeah, exactly, bro.
Yeah.
So I think monster movies are some of my favorite horror movies. But I think they're on the lower end of actually scary movies.
Yes,
most monster movies aren't actually scary
because it's wild.
This I thought was a scary monster movie. When the Neomorphs were attacking, when she was in the room and it was attacking her, when they were in the field, it was like a scarier version of the Velociraptor scene in The Lost World. When they're in the tall grass, it was like a scarier version of Pokemon.
Okay, Pokemon. That's what I was going to compare it to.
But I thought that was one of the only successfully scary monster movies. I thought Cloverfield kind of was too, but only in the cultural context of seeing it in the movie theater with all the hype when you had no idea what it was, and also being a person who's obsessed with found footage movies.
It's a baby. It's a baby.
But the Neomorphs I thought were scary, and I loved that.
Yeah, they were. No, they looked amazing. They looked amazing.
Did you see the VR experience?
No.
At some Regal cinemas, they had a VR experience where you got to... What character do you think you got to be?
The girl.
No. The Neomorph.
David? What?
You got to be the Neomorph.
Not even a human?
It starts off, you're inside the dude when they're locked in the med bay, the sick bay, and she's like, let me the fuck out! And you're the Neomorph waking up and like extending its hands, and another finger pops out as it's quickly growing, and then you hear the dude like, ah, as something's growing in him, and you hear her banging on the door, and then it start pushing his organs aside to try to figure out where it is.
In the body.
Yeah, and then it breaks out, and you see like half his body fall. And
all right, I want this.
It's very short. You can look it up on YouTube, but obviously it's not VR.
It's not the same thing. I want to experience this.
Yeah, it was directed by Ridley Scott too.
That's great. That's perspective building.
There's a lot of extra stuff. I think most of the extra stuff they put on YouTube were scenes they cut from the movie.
Just deleted scenes.
And they're like, hey, we can make this a viral video. So,
yeah.
I don't know. The Neomorphs, though, what do you think they were?
What do you mean? What do I think they were? Like, they were obviously monsters, or there was a creation. They were from the spores, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think David placed the spores, or is just like the black goo organically created their own versions of defense mechanisms on the planet?
I got the sense that, like, it had something to do with when he released the black goo on the engineers. That these were kind of like the things that came from the engineers.
Okay, so
but they come from humans, so that doesn't make sense. But then again, those pods, like, it's so the nature of the black goo is so hard to understand until they make more movies to elucidate on it more. But like,
if we want to be fair, human and engineered DNA is similar, very similar.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. A lot of people are saying that David created them, and that was his first attempts at creating.
Oh, I do remember hearing that David, and then he placed them around. Honestly, if he was a proper god. He would have just released the black goo and watched how life happened. But
the clockwork god?
The clockwork god.
I still sort of feel like there's something to do with like what happened when he released the black goo on the planet and not his experiments.
Right. Well, it seems because they were all over the place. It wasn't like there's no way he had been able in the past 10 years to just travel the entire planet and place all these but he's definitely played around. I think he was playing around with the egg experience.
But then I don't know also because they stood there and listened to him just like the one alien stood there and outstretched its arms.
It was his baby, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he just views it all as his baby.
One of my biggest complaints was David's use of action movie quips, like one-liners.
I'll be back.
It's like he watched a ton of action movies while he was there alone for the last 10
years. And then delivered them like an android.
And he has to he has you know what I mean? Those little clever one-liners that he has to drop in.
Yeah, didn't he say something? And it wasn't even just clever one-liners. He did a one-liner from every Ridley Scott movie.
Oh, really?
No,
but you're right because there was the Blade Runner.
The Blade Runner reference?
Yeah, when he says, it was when Walter came back. What does he say? He's like, you're supposed to be dead or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but like the end, I had this joke that at the ending when she realizes it's David and not Walter when he's putting her in cryo sleep, and then he goes, "Don't let the bed bugs bite."
Oh, that was the creepiest shit.
And then he goes, "I'll tuck the children in," and then he walks off. And I had this idea that he walks off and he's like, I should have just left it at "don't let the bed bugs." That was overkill. But I mean the face huggers because then maybe I should have just said I'll tuck the children.
Maybe I should have just said yeah.
She didn't even get the children part because she didn't know I had face huggers.
She doesn't even understand. Why would she know that I need to tuck children in? Does she know that I'm going to destroy the whole ship?
Or that there's this whole extended ending where he's just like, "Don't let the bed bugs bite. I'll tuck the children in. Good night, you princes of Maine, you kings of New England." And he just keeps going. And then eventually Mother's
good night, Moon.
Mother's like, 7 years have passed. Passengers being awakened from cryosleep. And he's like, oh, I didn't even know I had that much one-liners in me.
I thought he was just like practicing this in the mirror before he put her to sleep.
No,
which one's a better one?
It's the extended ending where he just keeps going because he
She's
doesn't
been sleeping,
know when to
he's
stop.
just been doing that.
He just keeps doing one-liners about going to sleep.
Oh my god. So that ending when you finally know, you're like, he's putting her to sleep. But I was wondering if he was going to let them go to sleep thinking nothing was wrong, or if he
could have.
He could have.
That's the sadistic thing is he could have been like, yeah, sure, I'll help you. Of course I'll help you build the cabin. But he didn't. He just stared at her.
Because he didn't know what she was talking about. And that's how she found out that it wasn't Walter.
But even though he's smart enough to be like, of course I will.
Just to be like,
that's all he has to say is
pacify.
Like, yeah, dude. The cabin? Yeah, totes, bro. Yeah, I love that cabin.
But like he gives this thought of
I feel like JD on Scrubs could have been like, yeah, of course I'll help you build the cabin and pull it off. Like, come on, man.
Well, maybe it was his own fault because it was programming, so immediately it's just his mind just goes searching data files.
No,
nothing found.
I think
make
he
something
was
up.
Sadistic. I think he was sadistically like, no, bitch.
He wants her to know as she's going to sleep. You fucked.
You lost.
I win.
Psych.
So yeah, in that moment,
that raises an interesting question though. Do you think he was broken? A lot of people are thinking he's broken. Remember the scene where Walter was like, excuse me, but "smack my bitch up" isn't an Ozymandias quote. That was Prodigy. And David's like, okay, it wasn't that, but you know what I mean. Like
he corrected him.
Yeah, he said a quote and erroneously attributed it to Ozymandias, and he's like, that wasn't Ozymandias that said that. It was Terrence McKenna.
it was
Joe Rogan.
It was Hitler. It was Joe Rogan. Okay.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, because that's showing that David's broken and that's why he's being so psychotic. I don't think he's being psychotic. I don't think he's broken. I think he's fallible. I think that's what that demonstrated, was that he's fallible and he made a mistake because he's more human than Walter.
He is the most human of the androids.
Exactly.
I mean, he was decommissioned not because he was going to break faster or anything. He was decommissioned because he was too fucking human, and people didn't like the fact that they were making something a slave out of something that might have been too human, that can actually feel.
I think it's, when people make the argument that the Joker isn't insane, he's just hyper ultra sane to an unhealthy level, I think that's a more appropriate
attribute
to David, that he's too sane to the fact that he'll kill the person he loves in interest of being a god. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. I could see that. But it's also possible maybe he doesn't know everything, bitch. No, but
don't call me a bitch.
I was calling Walter a bitch.
Oh, okay.
But to David, Walter is inferior because he can't feel. He doesn't understand. He thought that Walter loved that girl.
I think David thought Walter did still have the ability to feel.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. When he learned that out,
when
he figured that out. When he learned that, he only helped her because of duty and not.
I think he's
and
still,
not because of love.
Just like the going theme of evolution and adaptation and changes, I think he was still like, no, dude, you have... I think when David started out, he maybe didn't have the total ability to fall in love and stuff, and it's something he developed.
He thought he could, jailbreak the phone of Walter.
Well, no, but that
Walter
was capable of generating these complex emotions himself.
It was just blocked?
Despite the firewalls, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I said he was jailbreaking Walter.
Okay, sure. But that he could teach Walter to jailbreak himself.
Yeah.
That he could teach Walter to recognize
he's
already
to fish.
Jailbreaking himself, If
you teach a Walter to fish, then you will have fishless planets.
So, as I've hinted at and outright said earlier in the podcast, one of the big things that, sits uneasy with me is, as much as I love the idea of David being the creator of these xenomorphs, it's a cool story, this idea of an android, of, like I said, God creating God, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It's cool, and I like it, and I'm very interested to see the rest of the saga, but there's another side of me, because I'm a Gemini, that's I grew up...
Twinsies!
I grew up loving the Alien and Xenomorph franchise and knowing...
Comics-wise and movie-wise?
Comics, toys, video games, movies, expanded universe.
Dude, you know what? I want that. I want to come to Xbox Live, the Aliens vs. Predator arcade game.
When I was a kid, I didn't have any sense of this Giger-esque, weird sexual undertones that makes you feel uncomfortable, this weird intelligence to the aliens. I was just they are fucking crazy,
right,
cool
you didn't
monsters.
have those feelings in your loins yet.
No, I don't. Those movies don't make me feel shit in my loins, Craig.
But subconsciously.
I'm saying, it was just a monster movie when I was a kid. And I loved the creativity of this weird alien species. It was so creative. The face huggers that make the alien burst out of you, and then they take the form of whatever they burst out. That's just such a creative mythology. And the queen alien that lays the eggs for the face huggers that lay the eggs for the aliens. I loved it. I thought that was so cool. And the fact that they're just this alien species that we happen to stumble upon, this weird bug-like alien species that exists out there. It's not anything that was created. It's not even, a lot of people would speculate that the Predators created them back in the day, because Alien versus Predator. And
the
they're
movie?
No.
And the comics?
There were comics in the 80s. There were Alien versus Predator comics in the 80s.
Yeah,
people
I know.
need to know this shit.
I know. But what the movie depicted was the same thing. Is that what the comics depicted too?
The movie didn't actually say that they created them. It said that they bred them with humans to make the perfect form of them.
Okay.
So they could have still found them elsewhere, but then created the perfect form by breeding them with humans. I sort of subscribed to that back in the day. And the Alien vs. Predator comics were awesome because they're set in the world of Alien and not Predator, because Predator's in the modern day, but Alien, out in space with these ships like the Nostromo, this used universe that Alien exists in,
Yeah.
It's not set in the modern day on Earth, with stupid teenagers that want to sleep with each other. That's dumb.
That's just Requiem. And
Okay, you're
even
right.
the people that created Requiem was like, sorry.
You're right. And the first one was set in modern day, but you're right.
It was still set in modern day. That's
it had
a problem.
a little bit of a better idea because it's Wayland Yutani investigating a pyramid, so they're separated from. Okay, that I'll accept. Like if it was done better,
and that's still a problem though, because it leads to them being like, this happened on Earth, and people are acting like this never happened.
And also, where is the feeling that we get from the Alien series? Where is that Ridley Scott feeling? It's missing that.
Oh yeah, it's
that
gone
is important.
completely.
This greasy, oily alien universe is gone, and we need that. That's what the comics were. And like the movies could have been so much better. I dreamed of an Alien versus Predator movie, reading the letters sections of Starlog magazine for years in the 90s. So to me though, this idea that the aliens are only 20 years old,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like like it stings. You accept it. You accept it, and if it's done well, it's done well. But it still kind of stings. It's
That's
like,
the prequelitis. That's like the Star Wars prequelitis. So the Clone Wars happened 30 years ago, and yet nobody remembers each other. Like all this happened 30 years ago. Like
metachlorians.
This is closer than Woodstock. Woodstock happened longer ago than the time between when Anakin falls into the volcano and Obi-Wan sees Luke. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. But all you have to do is you could easily explain it when they say in Alien that nothing like this has ever been recorded in all of the planets we've explored. It would just mean like government conspiracy, government cover up.
Yeah, but
Okay, here's the thing that I'm thinking that. Like, I liked it and everything. I like the way they're connecting it, but it comes off as a bit narcissistic still about humanity. As in, it's not just a different species from across the galaxies that they just happen to stumble upon that's bug-like and is a huge threat to humanity. No. We made them.
You know what?
We made them. No. It's us. We did it. We
David
did it
did.
all. We always did it all.
David did.
We made David, so vicariously we made them.
Yeah.
We also breed them in our bodies.
I hear that.
We're
To
mother.
me-
We're mother.
But to me, I love that story, but I also it does not work with the other story that I grew up loving. So to me, it's sort of like you're
at odds with yourself.
They're just parallel universes. They're parallel stories that are both inspired by H.R. Giger's paintings that both happen to have xenomorphs in them. Hey, if multiple universe theory exists where there's infinite universes like in Rick and Morty. Speaking of, did you see the Rick and Morty trailer for Covenant?
No.
There's a legit trailer for Alien Covenant that has Rick and Morty in it.
Tell me to watch before we discuss this on the podcast.
I forgot. No, dude, there's a trailer that was made. It's a legit trailer for Covenant, but it's all about Rick and Morty going to like the alien thing. And
sounds amazing,
dude. It is. Dope.
All right, sidetrack.
But yeah, like if that multiple universe exists, then there is a universe. There's tons of universes where xenomorphs exist, and some of them they're invented by David, and some of them they're invented by Steve Jobs. You know, like so whatever. At the end of the day, whatever.
So even if it's fractured timeline theory, the fracture happens regressively.
But you kept bringing up when we were talking about this, and I was like, I want to do a podcast about the nature of this and the continuity. You were like, well, like Alien 3 and Alien versus Predator aren't canon anymore. And I was like, well, we'll talk about it on the podcast. That was for Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5.
I remember that got shut down because Ridley Scott was doing...
Yeah, he was going to make a movie where, because Alien 3 butchered everything that was set up in Aliens and it pissed off the fans so much, it killed Bishop, Hicks, and Newt when they were like, hey, let's set up a core group of characters for the next movie. That was totally the intention, was like, now we have a group of characters to put in the next movie, and then they just killed them all off. And people were really pissed about that. So his idea was like, well, let's do it again. Well, now Bill Paxton's dead, and like, rest your soul, you know. But
game over.
All due respect, man. Game over, man.
R.I.P.
But that's dead now.
It's completely dead. Deaded. Completely dead. So would that have stopped Alien 3 and 4 from happening, and it would have just been right after Alien?
Yes.
And would have stopped the rest of it. It also completely changes the little Easter egg in the end of Predator 2. It's like, when did they hunt the aliens? Yeah.
Yeah, it's all... I mean,
could it still technically be in the same universe?
I get it, because Ridley Scott's like, hey, I'm trying to do this really weird, complex saga of movies where you have no idea what's going on, and
there's no room for you.
You're piecing it together as you watch the movies, And now you guys want to release another movie called Alien something else, and it has nothing to do with my movies, but it's actually a sequel to those. The average moviegoer is going to be like, what the fuck? The average moviegoer that doesn't go to the alienwikia.com, you know what I mean? Is
This
gonna
sort
be
of
like,
thing...
I don't...
This
what?
sort of thing confuses people on like the like when you have Transformers and then Transmorphers straight to DVD.
Yeah,
you know,
the average moviegoer it's going to spoil the whole thing because he's like, I want people to keep seeing my movies and try to put together the mystery, and then they're going to go see this guy's movie and try to.
How does it fit? It doesn't,
and it doesn't. And it doesn't matter how many interviews I do that say, hey guys, that movie has nothing to do with this. The average moviegoer isn't going to hear those interviews. So like, I get why he doesn't want it to happen, but at the same time, hey, it's a franchise that's going to keep living. I'm not worried. Someday, hopefully, we'll get an Alien versus Predator movie that's like the comics.
So we could still have it be set in the same universe. It's just the events of Alien vs. Predator and Alien vs. Predator Requiem never happened. And they explained how predators hunt aliens in a different way.
I think we're reaching a point where it's like Marvel and DC. Just make your own continuity and just be happy when you get good quality installments.
Right.
And if you want it to fit into the franchise as whole, that's going to take some backflips and some fan wanking.
And you're going to have to just let it slide.
Yeah.
You're going to have to let it slide. And if not...
Ooh, I'm going to let it slide.
Rebirth situation.
And I'd do anything to get you guys to like our Facebook.
That was nice.
That was my segue.
We're moving.
How many like copyright infringements have we done in this episode?
None so far, since we keep it short enough.
Please, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating on iTunes, like the Facebook at Fairpoint Podcast.
I'll even take a Yelp review at this point.
We know this is Fair Enough Podcast, but we have another show. It's Fairpoint Podcast. We're the side series. And you are sure to enjoy Fairpoint Podcast. Actually, let me recommend 2 episodes in particular to you. Fairpoint Podcast, episode number 110, is all about H.R. Giger, the guy that designed the xenomorph, the Swiss artist whom they hired to like rip off his art and help them design a new movie monster.
Rest in peace, you beautiful man.
Oh, so great. It was a really fun episode to do. And there was another one that we did way back in the day, so it's not up to par with our current quality, but it was still a lot of fun.
It's more like a Fair Enough.
Episode number 58, we covered all the xenomorph toys, the Kenner toys from back in the day.
Oh, yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, and we talk about the rhino alien, the mantis alien. So if you're a hardcore alien and xenomorph fan...
Just remember, it doesn't count now.
But you'll love the episode, hopefully. Let us know. If you like Pokemon, we have a Pokemon show. And secretroommultimedia.com.
That's the easiest place to get any of the news for all of them.
It's up and running. www.secretroommultimedia.com. Secret Room Multimedia. That's our brand. You can find Fairpoint, Fair Enough, Sylph Radio, a Pokemon podcast, Moose and Toast, the online webcomic.
If I'm still stealing little jingles, I'm going to say, go to Secret Room and save some time. It's the general auto insurance.
Okay. There you go.
I hate daytime television.
Or there's this brand new jingle that I made up. Secret Room Multimedia.com. I thought that sounded super cool. Anyway, thank you for listening. I'm Nathan K.
I'm Craig Lewis.
And until next time, don't let the bed bugs bite.
Wait, what?
I'll tuck in the children.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense.
Try not to lose any sleep over it.
Let me out. I'm not sleeping anymore.
Good night, you princes of Maine, you kings of New England. Night. You need your beauty sleep.
Night.
Good night, room. Good night, moon. Good night, LV 426. Don't wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Go the fuck to sleep. Say what again? Oh, say good night to the bad guy. Come on. Sleep with the fishes. And now I lay me down to sleep and pray the Lord my soul to keep.
It still goes.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Okay, I've lost it.
How was Guar?
The beginning was funny, but
It was. You could tell it was written by a doctor.
it wasn't bad, but I don't know if you would like it.
I probably
It was
wouldn't.
actually kind of funny.
Was it? Like gross funny?
Yeah, it was still like confusing just because.
So, Batman. Yeah, I'm not, like, I was telling him, like, I'm not sure, I'm still processing it, I'm not sure if I love it, I hate it, or I was wondering, it's about damn fucking time. That, like, just finally cut to the chase. Cut to the chase. But you could see it, there was, bringing it to that with the Bat and the Cat episode.
Okay.
Or issue.
We left off with, it gave us some, oh, dope.
Yeah. You want that bullshit?
Yeah.
You want that bullshit?
Can you grab me one, Craig?
Yep. He's one of Dwight's people. He was with Lucido. Whatever. Didn't he start fucking Lucido? Or not Lucido. Who is Lucy? Who's Sherry? Sherry's dead though, right? You know what we could always say? We're talking about this podcast chronologically the same way that the Alien franchise treated it. Jumping all over.
Oh, okay. I was like, that sounds really good. That's why. See, the greatest thing is sustain.
No.
Alrighty. Oh, can you not? We haven't even read the last one. That's the new one? Is that a new one?
Yeah, that's the
So
new
we've
one.
got 2 issues. I don't even want to see that cover. Damn.
I don't even want to see that cover.
You can. I just mean like, don't like let me see what's in it. I feel like I'll just glance up and there'll be one page there and it'll be like Rick getting his throat slit or something. Carl getting run over by a steamroller. Yeah, you don't like Carl? He hasn't been as cool in the comics as he used to be. Ever since he got his emo bangs and started dating Lydia. Everybody hates him on the show. I still think he's cool on the show. Actually, he's got a little in the comics.
I think it doesn't fit because they're still giving him like stuff that 10-year-old Carl would be doing, and he's clearly 17. So it's
Then
like,
again, when you were 17, you did shit that 10-year-old Craig would be doing, I'm sure.
it's just
Fair enough.
passable. It's more passable because he's supposed to be a lot younger.